Kirby, Meta Knight, and, oddly enough, Knuckle Joe have each made attempts at beating Star Allies without jumping. I don't think King Dedede is just going to sit by and let them have all the fun. You know what that means. Is it possible to beat Kirby Star Allies guest star King Dedede without jumping? What rules does our good king need to obey, specifically? We may not use the move jump/hover. If we can get all the way through guest star mode without a human-controlled player using this move, then it's a challenge successful. And just like last time, while we certainly aren't ignoring the fact that friend train and friend circle jumps exist, we also aren't going to be wasting much time on them. The primary goal today is to beat the mode without any regular jumps. Before we start playing, it would likely be a good idea to take a good long look at what our moveset and jump replacements look like this time around. Alright Dedede, what have you got? In terms of jump replacements, King Dedede has two moves that can give him some air. The first and less useful of the two is the head slide, which can clear small gaps and really short obstacles. But that move is nothing compared to the Super Dedede jump, which, just to be clear, while it may have the word jump in its name, it's not the move jump/hover and therefore is a legal jump replacement. As for how well it does that job, it's pretty decent. It is activated by quickly pressing down then up then B, which is certainly one of the more annoying methods to activate a jump replacement. Another downside of this jump replacement is that it doesn't enable infinite flight capabilities. Not only that, but as far as I can tell, you can't even use it in midair. Let's not be too negative though. In exchange for dealing with those drawbacks, we are rewarded with a jump replacement that has impressive height and great control over your horizontal movement while airborne. It is by far our best jump replacement, so let's hope it's good enough. The first level starts out pretty easily. We beat up some enemies and clear what is traditionally the hovering tutorial with ease. Then we come to an extremely high ladder. Good thing we have quite a high jump replacement, which brings us right to the height of the ladder, and then pulls us back down to earth. So, as it turns out, we can't grab the ladder during the jump replacements. That's certainly an issue. An issue that can be overcome with an aerial dodge. You heard right. We can dodge at the pinnacle of our jump replacement, which then gives us back full control of our penguin protagonist on the descent. This leads us to the discovery that our jump replacement doesn't get us high enough to start climbing the ladder anyway. So, I guess Dedede just flat out can't climb the ladder. And if that is the case, then we'll be forced to already perform an illegal jump. Or perhaps we can outsource our ladder climbing via multiplayer to a Knuckle Joe we found earlier in the level. Alright, get up there Knuckle Joe, climb that ladder. Or get teleported back to me for going out of frame. Our best jump replacement failed, multiplayer didn't work, and somehow I doubt our other jump replacement is going to be very useful in this context. With those two tools exhausted, what do we have left? Perhaps a combination of the two would work? We may not be able to quite reach the ladder with our jump replacement, but we can move the camera up a bit. Just enough to get the door to the next screen in frame, in fact. This little detail allows us to try the following strategy. Step 1. Position Knuckle Joe clinging to the bottom of the ladder. Step 2. use the Dedede super jump to pan the camera up, then start dodging like mad to keep it up there. And step 3, which really occurs basically concurrently with step 2, climb the ladder with Knuckle Joe, then sprint right and get through the door before it goes off camera. Wow, I can't believe that actually worked. The next point of interest is a Dream Rod, and you know what? This ain't our first rodeo with one of these, so all you veterans out there, if you feel confident, go ahead and right now leave a comment predicting which Dream Friend we'll be picking. The answer is Rick, Kine, and Koo. I know it's predictable, but they're just such a good way to get access to a good variety of elemental effects. Speaking of which, let's talk about Baluster Dedede. It should come as no surprise by now that adding some aerial elemental power to our moveset gives us much more potent jump replacement options. In this case though, it doesn't actually impact our 2 jump replacements we already have. But it does add a few more to the arsenal, such as the Hammer Twirl, Giant Dedede Swing, Giant Swing, Ultra Giant Swing, Dedede Hammer Flip, and the Dedede Hammer Throw. So, that's a lot more options in terms of jump replacements. That is certainly a very good thing. But let me pour some cold water on your expectations of this Bluster ability. Because while we may be gaining a great variety of jump replacements, even taken together, they still have one glaring weakness. That weakness would be a lack of infinite flight. Still though, aside from that detail, this is a pretty decent moveset. With that moveset in our possession, we move on through the immediate part of the level with relative ease. That includes a friend train portion that causes no jumps. Later in the level, we come to a vertical section which features platforms that you can jump up through, which is great. What isn't great is that these same platforms allow you to fall through them when you press down, which is an important step of activating our Super Dedede jump, which is still a jump replacement that I do like to use. With good timing in the execution of the move, it still can be done while standing on these platforms. So really, it's more annoyance than roadblock. The rest of level 1 goes fairly well, including a boss fight with Wispy Woods, a Waddle Dee ball chase, this ladder section, and a King Dedede boss fight. Level 2 then pretty quickly grants us 3 friend circle jumps. Oh well. The next part of the level is water-based, and that's perfectly fine, as Dedede's underwater moveset is pretty alright. This screen requires us to get Dedede out of the water and onto a platform. This is something that would have been near impossible with Dedede's regular moveset, but, as to Bluster Dedede, it's as simple as tapping up on the D-pad, then using the Hammer Twirl. I thought that same Hammer Twirl would come in handy here. But alas, even with an updraft on its side, it still can't grant us true flight. Good thing we have a lot of different options to try to achieve that end with. As it turns out, under these specific circumstances, the Giant Swing is capable of providing the elevation we need. Eventually, we reach another vertical section with those same platforms from before. In this case, I found the Dedede Hammer Flip to be a good jump replacement to use under this circumstance. Speaking of vertical sections, here's another updraft section, and this time the Giant Swing doesn't quite suffice. What does work is a Super Dedede jump followed by a dodge and then 2 Hammer Twirls. Then the next time we encounter an updraft, we use mostly dodges, which actually works quite well. We then finish off level 2 with a Meta Knight boss fight victory. Level 3 overall goes fairly smoothly. We do encounter another one of these vertical sections again, but by now we have a pretty good method to get through sections like this, so it's of no real issue. There's also this section, which is actually pretty easy as King Dedede because his Super Dedede jump gives us very good control over horizontal movement while it's in use. Later in the level we encounter 14 unavoidable friend train jumps. Level 4 starts off with significant difficulty due to one evil key. This is the troublesome key in Star Allies. The one at the bottom of a valley whose slopes bounce the key off of them. Today, this key is overcome with a bit of off-screen multiplayer teleportation. The next concerning obstacle is once again a familiar one. Here, the Super Dedede jump doesn't quite get us up to the next platform. Today, this obstacle isn't too difficult to overcome though, as a Super Dedede jump followed by a dodge and the hammer twirl does provide the height we need to clear the jump. Another jump shortly following that one also requires an interesting combination of moves to overcome. Most of King Dedede's jump replacements are height focused, so there's no single one that provides enough horizontal movement to clear this gap. What can clear the gap is a Super Dedede jump, followed by a dodge and then a few giant swings. Next up is this infamous crushing section. This area of the level has brought great difficulty upon our previous protagonists, but in Dedede's case, it's actually pretty easy. The combination of the Super Dedede jump's sheer height and the ease of control of its horizontal movement makes this section a relative cakewalk. The one exception to that assertion would be the very end, where King Dedede's lack of flight caused this last section to be cut very close. So close that I lost a good ally. Nevertheless, we did survive ourselves and press onwards to the Krakow boss fight and level 5. All this wind in parts of level 5 required some quick, rash decision making, which is not great when you don't have flight as a safety net. This did not stop those challenges from being overcome jumpless, however. Eventually, the level led us to this screen. A screen which has historically been cleared by infinite flight. An ability which, like all penguins, King Dedede does not possess. And that's a problem, because the Super Dedede jump doesn't give us quite enough height to get on top of this block in the midst of its attempt to crush us. That jump alone can't make it, but what about a jump, and a dodge, and a hammer twirl, and another hammer twirl? Yes, it can! The next points of interest in the level are a couple of friend trains and circles, which add 16 and 8 friend circle/friend train jumps respectively. Which means that thus far we have a total of 41 friend circle/friend train jumps. And spoiler alert, but we aren't going to have to add any more of those. Now let's get back to avoiding normal jumps. Immediately following that last friend circle is this section of moving, very crush-happy platforms. And I will not deny that they did indeed give me some trouble. Mostly because the Super Dedede jump is kind of annoying to activate. That being said, the prescription to get by them isn't too complicated. It mostly comes down to patience and forethought, which, when utilized, will bring you to the final bosses, which, being bosses in a Kirby no-jump challenge, are fairly easy to beat without breaking our rules. That means, it is possible to beat Kirby Star Allies guest star King Dedede without any regular jumps. Of the guest stars we've tried so far, King Dedede was probably the one I was least confident in, but in the end he did pull through for us, and has taught us some tactics that may be useful for future guest stars. Speaking of which, if there are any guest stars that you are itching to see me get through the mode jumpless, then this would be a great video to leave comments regarding that on. And of course, outside of that, if you enjoy these videos in general, and you aren't subscribed yet, by royal decree of King Dedede, I command that you take the plunge and just press that button already. That, along with likes and watching some of my other videos that interest you, is the best way to make sure I can keep justifying the time investment each of these videos represents. With all that being said, thank you for your viewership, and I hope to see you once again in the next video I cook up. Goodbye. What can clear the gap is a Super Dedede. You ever say Dedede so much that it just starts feeling like weird and difficult to say? It's like it's not an actual word. Dedede. Dedede. What can clear the gap is a Super Dedede jump,